shouldn't you be having an EV now? Isn't the Tiguan due for a facelift?
Safety is a given for a Volkswagen. See, again, the Indian automobile market is unique in the sense that, it doesn't follow global templates.
Buyer gets what the buyer wants.
Exactly.
And the buyer wants a panoramic sunroof.
Yeah.
Safety was always a big talking point. But does that actually result in sales? From Polo and Vento to the Tiguan and Virtus.
Yeah.
What's the journey been like for Volkswagen India? Welcome to the Evo India podcast and another episode of Boss Talks. I'm Sirish Chandran, editor of Evo India, and with me today in the podcast studio is Ashish Gupta, brand director at Volkswagen Passenger Cars India. Ashish, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much and good to be here.
So in this podcast, we're going to talk about Volkswagen's plans for India, new products, a launch calendar, electrics, subcompact SUVs, Volkswagen's new experiences program, how sales are doing, the state of the Indian automotive industry, your GT badge. But first, we have to talk about what everybody is asking. What's happening with Volkswagen in India? There are all these rumors, right, about Volkswagen leaving India, looking for an Indian partner. What's going on, Ashish?
I think you use the word, the word rumor. So that is what it is. It is a rumor. We have been invested in the country for more than a decade now, and we plan to stay invested for decades to come. That's what it is, period.
But there's never fuel without fire, right? Or the other way around, never fire without fuel. What's the reason for all of this? How are sales doing?
No, I think the sales for us as a Volkswagen brand have been pretty consistent. The market is a little bit tough right now. I think there's a lot of overcapacity in the market. Right at the start of the year, I think everybody was expecting around 7 to 8% growth from last year. The year might still end at around 4 to 5% growth. But I think, the base of the Indian industry has also become quite large. We ended last year with almost 40 lakh sales. So on a large base, even a growth of 4 to 5% is not bad. Yeah? So that is how the industry looks like right now. Yes, I think everybody had overestimated the industry to a little extent. That correction will happen in the second half. But if I look ahead towards the festive season, seems to be quite optimistic. The festive season starts with Kerala this month, with Onam coming in towards the middle of September. I was in Kerala last 2 days and the dealers were pretty euphoric. A lot of optimism and a lot of, I would say, looking forward to that festive season that's coming up. So all in all, I think that should give us a kind of a trend for the rest of the industry and rest of the year as well in terms of how sales will go. But at least 4 to 5% growth over last year, which I think should be good.
So post-COVID, we saw this boom in the Indian market. Yeah. Discounts were finished. Waiting periods had come back. Are we now going back to the pre-COVID era?
Yeah, I would say so. If you look at it, the year 2020, 21, I think a lot of things happened, along with COVID, which also made customers a little bit conservative. The industry also became a little bit conservative in terms of where the growth will happen. Parallelly, there were a lot of supply chain bottlenecks right around the world, which also, made the supply a little bit constricted. So it was a combination of, the demand going down or the perceived demand going down, and also supply bottlenecks that plagued the industry, which brought the industry to, that kind of a state where actually, we were all very euphoric in the sense that the demand is much more than what the supply is. But I think the place where we are in the industry right now is the natural or the normal playing field for the automobile industry. This is how the automobile industry has always functioned. There is a little bit of oversupply, but I think, as I said before, 4 to 5% growth is what the industry is looking at, and everybody will rejig their plans to meet that kind of a growth projection.
So there's no panic stations?
I don't think so, not at least for us. Our sales have been more or less consistent. If I look at year till date July, our sales have been almost at similar levels as last year. So that's good for us and for our network. We have been, along with, what you see outside, it's important also to make sure that we meet our plans that we have set for ourselves. those we are able to meet. The Virtus has done very well. We are now year till July with the Virtus, the number one selling sedan in that segment.
Oh, congratulations!
So that's a winner for us. That's something as a target or as an ambition that we had right at the start of this year, and very happy to say that we achieved that end of July. Planning to continue with that number one position. I think being present in two segments, being number one in at least one segment is something which gives you a lot of also satisfaction. It also, more importantly, gives a lot of confidence to my dealers and to my customers as well, which is very important. As I said, I was in Kerala last 2 days. Dealers were also very happy. At the end of the day, the dealers are the ones who have to serve customers. And if they are happy, they are satisfied, then they are even more motivated to serve the customers well. Yeah.
Volkswagen has got this very loyal customer base.
Yeah.
I'm sure you want it to be an even larger base, but the base that you have is very loyal, is very passionate about the brand. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you about the Polo.
No, I think, you cannot talk about customer loyalty and loyalty towards the Volkswagen brand without talking about the Polo. Let's be honest about it. Polo is the car which defined the brand in India. Polo is the car which defined the enthusiasm and the love that people have for the brand in India. Polo set the legacy for us right from the product itself to the way we communicated in the market, the way we presented ourselves in the market, and the kind of dynamics that car gave to the brand. I would say we must thank that car for where we are today. We are living off that legacy, and we are trying to carry forward that legacy. But I think at the end of the day, customers are loyal to a brand or to a product which delivers what it promises, and if we are able to consistently deliver on our promise of build quality, safety and fun to drive, then I think that is what delivers the loyalty at the end of the day. And we have been pretty consistent in that, I must say.
So from Polo and Vento to the Tiguan and Virtus, what's the journey been like for Volkswagen India?
I think, when we started planning for the India 2.0 cars, the Taigun and the Virtus, I think the biggest leap that we needed to take was the change in customer, segment that we were making. And just to give you some data points, with the Polo and the Vento, we had an average ticket size of around 7 lakhs. And we needed to move to double that ticket size. Yeah. So that totally different customer set is what we were getting into. And that's why when in 2020 we started implementing our plan, our first focus was to reposition the brand. Yeah, the way we present ourselves, the way we talk about ourselves. You saw very aggressive and sporty way of presenting the Taigun. That was a part of our conscious plan to give a different dimension to the brand altogether. Then the way you communicate, the colors that you use, the imagery that you use. So I think that worked out well for us. We were able to position the cars well, and as you mentioned earlier, the GT badging and the top-down strategy that we adopted, I think helped us in that.
So you talked about the Virtus being the leader in the sedan segment. Does that say that sedans are back? Because until the Virtus and your sister car came out, the sedan segment looked more or less finished. Yeah. Is it coming back? What's going on?
No, I would say, sedans, Sirish, you also said this before, and I know that you own a sedan as well. So sedans are the quintessential car. When as a child also, you ask somebody to draw a car, they will not draw an SUV, 8 out of 10 times. They will draw a 3-box car. So the love for sedans has never gone away. But having said that, looking at the practicality of operating conditions in India, and not only in India, around the world, I think SUVs naturally have taken over. They will continue to be the dominant body style going into the next 5 or 10 years as well. But having said that, sedans will continue to find their place. Unfortunately, the industry is not focusing on sedans right now. When I talk to my Virtus customers, many of them still say that sedan is their preferred body style of choice, but not many choices are available. If you look at it, the Virtus now has almost a 27% segment share. Along with our sister product, we command a 50% segment share. Yeah, so the choices in that segment are also limited. But I think sooner or later, other manufacturers must also wake up to the fact that this segment is not dead. It's a question of, refocusing on this segment, bringing the right products for the customers. One of the winning points, which you have also pointed out sometimes on the Virtus, is also it marries the sedan characteristics with the ground clearance of an SUV. Yes. Yeah, that is what is needed for operating conditions like India. And if you bring the right product, I think there is still a big market for it.
What is drawing people towards sedans? Is it the sportiness? Is it the fun to drive character? Or is it just the shape?
No, I think, it offers a lot of, I would say, road presence, first of all. A big car kind of a feeling, which is very important still in India. And that's why you also find a lot of customers going for big SUVs, that largeness of size, the road presence. Secondly, the low seating position that just gives you a little bit of, a more road-hugging feeling that you get in a sedan. That is something which many customers find attractive. And also the roominess of the interiors. Yeah, so that's something which I feel attracts customers to that segment still.
But is the Tiguan still outselling the Virtus in your portfolio?
For us, I think it's 50-50 now.
Okay.
Till last year, the Tiguan was around 60 to 65% of my sales. Virtus was around 35 to 40%. Okay. But this year, it's been 50-50.
It's now been a couple of years since you introduced the Tiguan. You've been doing small little refreshes, but those are small touches, right? Isn't the Tiguan due for a facelift?
No, definitely. If you look at it from a product life cycle point of view, and you mentioned that we have been doing some small changes, but from my point of view, Sirish, there have been big changes made in the car. Yeah, if you look at it from a variant lineup itself, we have enhanced the variant lineup right from the GT to the GT Plus. Then this year we changed it to the GT Plus Sport and the Chrome. We introduced lower variants, the GT lines, which are better equipped cars on the 1 liter, carrying forward the GT lineage. Then if you look at it, we introduced features like the ventilated seats, the powered seats, subwoofer, and, branded sound system in our car. Lot of features which we have been adding in the life cycle of the car itself. Yeah. Yes, there are a couple of features which I would still love to have. The love for, panoramic sunroofs and ADAS continues to grow in India. That's what we are working on in bringing into the Tiguan and Virtus.
So soon we should see it?
Yes. How soon? Can't answer you right now, but we are very aggressively working on it.
Okay. You also had a problem earlier of high cost of ownership.
Yeah.
How have you addressed that? And has that been addressed?
To a large extent, yes. Yeah. So, my barometer for, how much that matters to customers for Volkswagen is also the kind of voice I get from customers through comments on social media, through customers I meet, through our dealers that I meet. And the first barometer, as I said, is my dealers. When dealers start complaining about that, I'm not getting enough service revenue, that means we are doing something right. So that's my first barometer. But I think if I talk about my interactions with customers, most of the customers that I meet today of the India 2.0 cars are very happy with the service cost. Again, talking about data points, the annual service cost of a Tiguan or a Virtus right now is around 7,500 rupees.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's very, very manageable, on par with many cars of a segment below us as well. Yeah, so that has been a sea change for us, and this was a very, very priority action field for us when we started, repositioning the brand in India, to make sure that our perception of service cost is taken control of. Yeah, I would say that many people sometimes also ask me that you should do more marketing about your service costs. Having been in service and having been associated with as a customer as well, and also in after sales, I believe the best advertising and marketing is word of mouth. Yeah, especially on the service side. Yeah, when customers who have bought your cars, experienced your service, experienced the cost, start talking positively about it, that's when the perception changes, and that's what's happening right now.
Okay, so that's good to hear. Another big talking point at Volkswagen was always safety. Right from the Polo, safety was always a big talking point. But does that actually result in sales?
No, as a salesman and as a brand director, I would like to believe so. I think our entire brand narrative and why we have such loyal and enthusiastic customers is also because safety is a given for a Volkswagen. Yeah, so after a period of time, it becomes a basic expectation from a brand. Now, and I'm happy that customers take it as a basic expectation when they come to Volkswagen. Yeah, whether it results in greater sales or not, at the end of the day, it will not matter. Yeah, because what we have been able to do is to set safety as a base narrative in the industry. That's more important. Yeah. Now, to take advantage of it, you will have to be in line with competition. Yeah, you cannot say that safety is the only thing which sets me apart from the industry or from other competitors. I think what we are proud of as a brand is setting safety as a base narrative in the industry.
Yeah, that's a good talking point. Another good talking point is your GT badge.
Yeah.
That comes in from the Polo legacy, and it also highlights the sportiness inherent in your cars. How are you taking that forward? Now you have the GT line, the GT variants. Are you going to expand that? Are you going to do more additions to it?
No, I think, if you look at it, the GT Plus with the 1.5 is what set the narrative on the India 2.0 cars. And, there was a lot of demand from the market in terms of bringing that sportiness to our lower variants as well. That's what we did with the GT line. I think now our portfolio and our variant lineup is more or less set. We will, of course, continue to do a little bit tweaks based on the how the price points move, what the expectations of the customers in the market are. That will, of course, continue. But, the GT legacy will continue in whatever products we bring.
Okay. You have a loyal fan following. We already talked about it. One of the initial initiatives that you've done to grow this fan following is the VW Experiences program.
Yeah.
You recently took a bunch of customers up to Leh. How do you plan on growing that? And why is this so essential for the brand?
Okay, so I think, it again takes the conversation back to, what fosters brand loyalty. Yeah. What makes a customer enthusiastic for a brand? I think more than the product and the experience with the product and the services, it is also something which becomes personal for you. A brand identifies you. If I am loyal to a particular brand, it also has shades of my personality in it. Yeah. So to foster that kind of an association further, you have to also go into what kind of lifestyle a customer would like to live. And sometimes it is also important for a brand to continue that loyalty or to build on that loyalty to show him what kind of a lifestyle is possible. Yeah, with our cars, with the brands that you choose. So that's the endeavor with Volkswagen Experiences. Come even closer to our customers' lifestyle and maybe show them another facet of lifestyle which is possible with by associating with our brand.
Okay. You've been associated with the Volkswagen brand for 4 years as a brand director.
Yeah.
Of course, before that also. What has that journey been like? Where did you start off at Volkswagen?
So, I started with Volkswagen in the year 2013 as head of after sales, for 4 years. From 2013 to 2016, I was in after sales. Then in 2017, moved to sales. And in 2020, took over the brand director's role.
Yeah. So 4 years at the helm of Volkswagen India. If I'm not mistaken, that's the longest Volkswagen India has had one brand director.
Don't jinx it. Huh?
No, so where I'm coming from is that it adds stability to the brand, stability in terms of vision. You were also closely involved in the whole transition to India 2.0.
Correct.
When the transition was going on, what were your main focus areas?
I think, important, at the end, and if you look at it, the core of any organization is the product or service that you're selling. So you have to align all your strategies and all your, positioning based on the product or service that you're going to sell. So once the product, and I believe we did a good job in defining the product that we needed to bring into the Indian market, what kind of price points, what kind of features. Of course, it can be always bettered and, everybody can have opinions about it. But I think the core of the product is what was well defined. Once you have that core of that product well defined, then everything around it has to flow from what the product offers to the consumers. Yeah. So what the product offered was world-class safety. The product offered a fun-to-drive experience with the TSI engines. Yeah. The product offered solid build quality, which Volkswagen is known for. The product offered global attributes of products, which Volkswagen has the world over. Yeah. And these are the attributes we needed to carry forward into our communication, into the brand positioning. So what did we do? First of all, we changed the CI and CD of our dealerships. If you look at it, right at the time we were launching our India 2.0 product, we also changed the CI and CD to be more fresh, to be more youthful, to be more appealing to the customers. We changed our CI and CD at all our, internet or, online touch points as well. We changed the way our people converse with the customers by changing their uniforms, by having a very robust training program on how to interact with next generation customers. We changed the entire communication piece in the way we communicate, in the colors we use, in the imagery we use, the way we present ourselves. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it all came down from how do you amplify the product attributes and carry it forward into the brand. Yeah.
So that is then. Today, what is keeping you busy?
Yeah, I think the normal business. Yeah. So launching a cars is the happiest time for any brand and for any brand director. But I think the more 90% of your time actually goes in making sure that that success continues. Yeah. So that's what keeps me busy, making sure that what we have presented and what we have promised to the customers and the market, we deliver on it.
So Ashish, what does a day in the life of a brand director look like? What do you start your day with and what do you focus on? What takes up majority of your time?
All right. So I think, after having been in this job for 4 years now, sometimes all these things become a routine. But let me just try to recap in my head. How do I spend my day? I think the first thing I do when I'm having my morning cup of tea is just have a mental to-do list on what needs to be done today. My team is, generous enough to have a schedule and a calendar filled up for me on the important things to be done today. But the first thing when I reach office is that we have this, cross-functional call or a Teams call that we do every morning at 9 o'clock, which is about customer issues. Yeah. And it's very important that the entire organization is focused on finally what matters the most, the customer. So 9 o'clock, we start our day with a half an hour call on the important customer issues, whether they are queries, because some customers have some queries which need to be answered on, some customer issues, whether on the sales or after sales side, how can we best support the customer so that at least, the customer part is taken care of for the full day. And so that's very important for us. Then I think the rest of the day is spent mostly on, what is on the agenda in terms of operations. But what I consciously try to do also is not to lose myself too much in the today. Or what needs to be today. Very important to make sure that you also have a view on what needs to be done 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Difficult thing to do, let me be honest, in all the operational issues that happen every day. But that's what I consciously try to do.
So today, you're planning for when? 3 years from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now? What is your...
So all. Actually, the level of planning and the level of depth that you go into planning, depends on which horizon you are looking at. So our planning, encompasses a 10 to 15 years planning horizon as well. Then we come to the mid-term, which is 5 to 7 years, and the short-term, which is basically, 1 to 3 years of planning. Yeah, so that's how the entire planning cycle flows in the entire organization. And depending on which horizon are you looking at, the more involved you are.
And then when government policy changes or something gets added, then what happens to all the well laid out calendar week plans? For instance, the new EV policy that has just come out. Obviously, that would have changed things, right? We'll talk about the ID4 in a bit. But now what happens? Do your counterparts in Germany tear their hair out and say, oh, now again, India's come up with a new googly?
No, I think every organization, what it looks at the end of the day is consistency in policies. If you have a consistent, transparent, and announced well ahead in time policy, everybody is willing to go by it and make their plans accordingly. So even if the EV policy has come recently, I think it's a welcome policy. It does give you a lot of flexibility. It does give you a new horizon to plan with. It does give you some benefits if you are planning to, participate in it. So yeah, it's a welcome policy, just as an example. But yeah, my request always to the authorities is be a little bit more consistent and give us time to prepare.
India has that unique sub 4 meter rule also. You don't have a product there. We're going to talk about that also. How involved are you with, say, government agencies or with the authorities in terms of setting policy?
So I think this part of the business is taken care mostly by our corporate affairs teams, but of course the brands and all of us have inputs into it. So yes, a lot of industry organizations like SAIM and all, we are part of giving our feedback on the different policies coming up, what needs to be done for the betterment of the industry, for all facets connected to the automobile industry. Yes, all those feedbacks are of course given. Yeah.
So let's take a breather from the business side of things. Let's talk about you personally.
Okay.
You did your engineering?
Yes.
When was that and from where?
This was in the year 1996 from National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. And by the way, I'm an electronics engineer, so I'm very far off from what I qualified to, in engineering too. But yeah, I'm an electronics engineer.
And then you did your management degree.
I did my MBA in marketing from Punjab University in Chandigarh.
Okay. From there, what was your first job?
First job for me was I joined Toyota in the year 1999. Joined in after sales, and believe it or not, for the first 3 years I was a trainer. So the first incidentally, I was among the first 50 people to join Toyota in India. My first job was to train all the dealer people in terms of service processes, service quality, technical training as well. So first 3 years I did that. Then moved on to Japan for a stint for almost 3 years, where I was in charge of customer quality for the Indian market, looking at all the technical issues, making sure that they are, given due priority in the headquarters, making sure the solutions are implemented in the market. Then moved on to field operations and service. And then I moved to Volkswagen as head of field forces.
Okay,
and
so you've always been an after-sales guy.
Yeah, for a large part of my career, right, from 99 to I would say 2015-16, I was with after-sales and quality.
Taking care of customers, that's probably your biggest focus area?
It has to be, for any brand or for any organization. I think the reason for existence is the customer. And sometimes in our targets and the various goals that an organization has, you lose sight on what matters the most. And at the end of the day, it is the customer. So it's my job, and I believe, that's my responsibility to keep the organization focused on what matters, and that's the customer.
Okay, so back to business. What are the new upcoming products from Volkswagen?
Yeah, so I think, again, I mentioned the various planning horizons that exist in an organization. For us, also those planning horizons exist. In the immediate term, if I talk about 1 year, the focus is on making sure that the Taigun and Virtus, continue to deliver the volumes that we have promised the organization. That I think is very important because it sets the base for future success and future investments. Yeah, in that, I would say we have been relatively successful. We have been able to maintain and deliver consistent volumes, which are very important to get investments back into the brand and into future products. So that's the immediate priority. On a 3-year horizon, what we are looking at, as you mentioned, the facelifts and the upgrades on the Taigun and the Virtus, that are also very important. I think by the time we reach end of 2025, the Taigun would be 4 years old into the market, 4.5 years. The Virtus will be 3.5 years old into the market. So very important that you refresh them, give them a totally new, skin and additional features which the market requires. So that's the 1.5, 2 years horizon that we are looking at. Then, of course, from a 5 to 7 year horizon, I would say the transformation to new platforms, both on the IC and introduction of new platforms on the electric.
Shouldn't you be having an EV now?
No, I think, definitely, yeah. So, sooner the better. That is what we would like to believe. But I think you mentioned this earlier as well, that sometimes our plans also change based on how the regulatory, landscape is changing. You know that I've showcased the ID earlier this year, and our plan was to launch it in Q4 of this year. But with the new EV policy coming up, that is something which we have to reimagine. We have to look at, whether it makes sense to bring it in the way we were planning to bring it earlier, or whether it will make more sense, under the new EV policy if we participate in it. So these plans, are sometimes dynamic and sometimes not in your hands, get influenced by external factors.
So the new EV policy, how does it change things for you? Does it force you to start doing local assembly?
I would say that, the EV policy basically facilitates local manufacturing of EVs. Yeah. What it affords along with that is that you can now more easily bring your global portfolio into India. Yeah. The way we were planning to bring the ID4 or other cars into India earlier was under the GSR 870 rule, which would have taken their duty levels to be higher. So the cars would have been costlier. The EV policy does give us an opportunity to bring higher number of cars and maybe bring at them at more affordable prices, or prices which are more suitable to the market. So that's what changes your dynamics a little bit.
But that also forces you to reinvest in the Indian market.
Yes.
Are you now in that stage where you're convincing headquarters that yes, we have to?
I don't think the headquarter needs convincing anymore. Yeah, we are all convinced that electrification is the way ahead. What the pace of that electrification will be, everybody has different views. If you had asked me 1.5 years ago, my outlook would have been different. But seeing what has happened globally and in India in the last 6 or 8 months, maybe the pace will be a little bit different. But no doubt about it that the transformation has to happen, and any manufacturer worth its name has to go for electrification.
In the immediate term, don't you need a smaller product? Your cousins, Skoda, They are doing a sub 4 meter SUV. You haven't announced plans of participating in the sub 4 meter SUV. What's going on over there?
No, I think, at the end of the day, it's a call that every brand takes. Yeah, we are a large group, and we also have to make sure that the overlap between brands is minimized to a large extent. That is what our endeavor always is, whether it is through products or whether it is through positioning of the brands. With the India 2.0, we have gone more the positioning route, and I believe, and I would like to believe, that we have been successful in differentiating through our positioning in the market. But going ahead, we also have to be very careful and be open to the fact that we will also have to differentiate by products. Yeah, so that is where we as Volkswagen have no plans to bring out the 2.5 as it is said, or the sub 4 meter car. It also has to do a lot with what our experience was with the sub 4 meter segment in the past, although that was a different time. But the positioning of the brand has changed a little bit.
So you're saying no for the sub 4 meter SUV of now?
Having been in sales and marketing for a long time, Sirish, I never say no.
Okay.
I never say never. Yeah.
Okay.
So, right now our position is that we are not going into it. Okay. But, if the market needs, if the brand needs it, and if it is possible, why not?
Yeah, you talked about your other sub 4 meter vehicle. That's obviously the Ameo.
Yeah.
Were you at Volkswagen when the Ameo was done?
Yes, I was.
What was the biggest... Okay, we all know that it didn't do well.
Yeah.
What was the biggest learning that you had from that project?
No, I think, the biggest learning, if you ask me personally, having seen that product from the outside, because I was not in a sales or a product planning role at that point of time, I would say if you have to, be successful in any segment, you have to come early and you have to, come with the right product. Unfortunately, I believe that with the Ameo, we were a little bit late entering that segment. That segment was already showing signs of weakness, of already showing signs of going down. So I would say wrong timing.
Do you miss the Polo?
Every day.
But there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah, so, again, as I said, I never say never.
Okay.
So it's not that, I would not like to bring the Polo, but in the current form, the way it exists globally, it is not possible to bring that.
That's because it is above 4 meters.
It is above 4 meters. The cost base of that car is very different. Bringing it in its current form is not possible because the prices will be way off. Bringing it below 4 meters would involve very, very high costs in modifying that car. That is not something which we are ready to do right now.
Yeah. You also had a lot of other products in your portfolio in the past. Jetta, the Passat, also at the higher end. Do you need more products in your...
Definitely, any brand, again, talking from a customer point of view, if they want to stay loyal with the brand, then you need options with the brand. Frankly, with the India 2.0 cars, we were able to give an option to our erstwhile customers of Polo and Venter to upgrade within the brand. But now with this generation of customers who have bought the Taigun and the Virtus, I do need to give them an outlook on how to upgrade within the brand. So that's what I'm also working on right now in terms of what kind of cars from our global portfolio I can bring into India, whether through the FBU route or the CKD route or the parts and components route. That's also something which we are planning.
So the Tiguan, that has been a strong highlight in your portfolio.
Yeah.
In fact, the Taigun adopts a lot of the cues from the Tiguan.
Yeah.
You have a new Tiguan globally.
Yeah.
When does that come to India?
So if you look at it, right now, the Tiguan is new, and another exciting product that is being launched very soon in globally is the Tayron. Yeah.
That's the 7-seater.
Yeah, 7-seater. Yeah, so 7-seater and also has an option of a 5-seater car as well. So looking at the penchant for bigger cars for among Indian customers, my bet is more on the Tayron. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to getting into India through the parts and components route, which will offer a bigger road presence and fully equipped cars. Yeah, so that is another big learning for us with the premiumization happening in the Indian market, with customers preferring more and more features. It just doesn't make sense to be introducing base variants anymore. Yeah, you have to have a sufficient level of equipment in the car for the customers to adopt them.
Talking about that, in your current portfolio, what percentage is your top-end variant?
I would say more than 60%.
More than 60%?
Yeah, the GTs and the top lines is almost 60% of my portfolio right now.
So more people want the fully loaded car rather than stripped down, base version, 10 lakh rupee car.
No, of course, if you look at the Indian market, there are a sizable chunk of customers whose natural affordability is towards lower price points. So I'm not discounting those customers at all, and we have offerings available for those cars. But from a brand like Volkswagen, when a customer comes into our showroom and when he wants to buy a Volkswagen, he would rather buy a fully equipped car, because that's his sweet spot, or that's his matching his lifestyle.
Do you miss diesel?
Well, who doesn't? So yeah, but let's be honest about it. Diesel is rapidly going out of fashion. If you look at it, hatchbacks are totally out of diesel. Notchbacks are totally out of diesel. Most of the smaller cars are out of diesel. The only segment which still has diesel is maybe the A0 SUV segment, where the Tiguan has. There also the percentage or the share of diesel has come down from above 50% to around 35-36% over the last 1 year. Bigger cars do continue to have diesel. If I look at it with the present situation, I would have loved to have diesel. It would have added maybe 15-20% to my sales. But we knew this. This was a conscious decision, Sirish, when we took this decision in 2020. And that is why, if you see, our portfolio comes with 2 petrol engine options, and not any natural aspirated engines, but TSI engines, turbocharged engines, 1 liter and the 1.5, which offer better performance than a diesel, and maybe better, if not equivalent, fuel efficiency as well. So these are the 2 engine options that we brought in, knowing that we will not be participating in diesel.
And with diesel, is it never say never, or is it a hard no?
I think you have, being in the market, you cannot take a hard position anytime. Market comes back and bites you in the ass very quickly. So you have to make sure that you stay flexible, but at the same time stay flexible, stay practical of what is possible. It's not that diesel is not there in the global portfolio. Diesel is still there in the bigger cars.
Sure.
Yeah, but you have to also understand that at what cost do you bring it into the country? Yeah, whether you have a business case for it, whether you will get the volumes by bringing those options.
What about CNG?
Yeah.
What about CNG?
No, CNG, of course. We are also evaluating CNG, especially in the lower variants. Yeah, CNG is something as an option which exists. That's definitely something which we continue to look at.
With the GT badge, you also had the GTi, the Polo GTi. Is that something that you can look at as a CBU and FPU?
So if you look at
small volume.
Yeah, if you look at the Polo, the new generation Polo, South Africa is the only location which manufactures the Polo, the new Polo worldwide now. The Kariega plant is the only plant in the world that manufactures the Polo, and for that matter, the Polo GTi. So to bring the Polo or the Polo GTi back into India, first of all, we have to bring it under GSR 870. Yeah. And under GSR 870, it has to be UK homologated or Japan homologated.
Okay.
Yeah. So
for right-hand drive is only UK and Japan.
UK and Japan. Yeah. So, we can always think of bringing limited volume, let's say 500,000 cars of the Polo GTi into India. But again, with those homologation costs, with the import costs, and India not having any FTA with South Africa for that matter, it becomes very difficult and prohibitive in terms of prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what's stopping you from looking at that?
No, it's not that I've not looked at it, but the commercials don't work out.
Oh, that's sad. Your neighbors in your office, Skoda and Volkswagen, are like wedded at the hip. What each does helps the other, and the success of one feeds into the other. Right? This 2.5 India 2.5 plan, where you're not going to be participating, that would probably affect the volumes of Skoda and also their business plans also going forward. But how closely do you work with each other?
No, very, very closely. And for that matter, not only Skoda, I think we work very closely with all the brands in the group. In India, we do have Audi, Porsche and Lamborghini. Porsche and Lamborghini may be a little bit off from where we position ourselves, but Audi does overlap with us on some of our premium cars. So if you look at it, the success of this group is based on the strengths of each brand. Each brand, Skoda is strong in some aspects. Volkswagen is strong in some aspects, especially in India. Audi has its own strengths. So we do take learnings from each other. We do feed into each other. We do give each other feedback and see how we can be more successful together.
But you also compete with each other.
Oh, definitely.
Like in a race team, your main rival is your own teammate, right? So how do those dynamics play out?
No, I think, just harking back to our school days and our college days, you are not so disappointed with your enemy's success, but your friend's success hurts you more. Yeah. So that's how it is. It's a family, and as long as the competition is healthy, it's good for the company.
What's the Indian automotive market looking like now?
In what sense?
In terms of numbers, are you on a strong trajectory?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, the Indian automobile industry ended up at around 4 million cars last year. This year, the growth projection, the conservative growth projection for the full year is 4 to 5%, which at a high base of 4 million is another 200,000, 250,000 cars added. So the growth trajectory definitely looks positive. It will continue, to expand. It will continue to do well. Of course, there will be short and mid-term challenges, especially in terms of what powertrains to go for, because globally everybody is a little bit confused right now. Yeah. I think a couple of years back, everybody was like, electrification is something which we need to go. But now everybody is having a rethink. Everybody is having a relook at in terms of, which powertrains make sense, which powertrains will, gain more ground. And do you need to have an intermediate plan? Rather than switching right from ICE to full electrification, do you need something midway? Again, which one is right, which one is wrong, time will tell. But I would definitely believe that there's going to be a lot of consolidation in global automobile industry.
So hybrids?
Why not? Why not? At one point of time till last year, I said, hybrids is something which we are not looking at. But looking at where the industry has developed, that's something which definitely you have to consider as part of your plans.
Yeah, because EVs, it seems to be under stress, but do you see the percentage of EVs in the Indian market growing rapidly?
I think that the inflection point should come in 26, 27, and not naturally, but because the CAFE norms are going to be tightened. So with the tightening of the CAFE norms in 2027, everybody has to be ready with the EV plans. So it's something which is not a choice, but has to be done.
So knowing the Indian market, right? Is this more a regulatory push rather than a want or demand from the customer?
See, again, the Indian automobile market is unique in the sense that, it doesn't follow global templates. Global templates, demand comes first and then the supply comes. Here, both go hand in hand, Since we are, behind in terms of development compared to other developed countries, here, we leapfrog technologies. Now, if you look at it, the mobile landscape itself, we leapfrogged a lot of generations. We leapfrogged maybe 10 or 12 years ahead of, how the developing countries, progressed on that path. That is what is going to happen in automobile as well. Indian market will have to leapfrog certain technologies, certain powertrains. And if regulation is helping us in that, no problem.
Ashish, couple of rapid fire questions before we wrap this up. What's your favorite VW car on sale in India right now?
Right now, my favorite would have to be the Virtus.
Okay.
So a couple of months back, I also, for my personal use, I took up a Virtus and really loved driving the 1.5 GT.
Okay. Your favorite Volkswagen of all time?
Of all time? Okay, I loved the Passat.
Okay.
Definitely, the Passat, it had a regal presence about it.
Are you frustrated that the Passat now globally is only in an estate version and estate don't sell in India, so no point?
I told my global competitor, what kind of a body style you guys are making? But to be honest, that's a dominant body style in Europe. I would have loved to have the Passat in the traditional sedan, body style and bring it to India. But unfortunately, that's not available anymore.
Why don't estates sell in India?
Difficult question. Even you have seen the development as well. What do you think?
I just think that people think it's too utilitarian. And here in India, nobody, no plumber owns a Passat, for instance, right? So you don't need to put all your saman into it, right?
Exactly.
So, and obviously because of the proliferation of SUVs, but even going back to the Tata estate times.
It never did well.
And then, the Baleno Altura and all that, nothing ever did well. So,
and it's contrary to, popular logic or common logic that, in India, there's a lot of people who would like to have a used car.
Yes.
But for that matter, even, pickups don't do well in India, which is a surprise.
Strange. But buyer gets what the buyer wants.
Exactly.
And the buyer wants a panoramic sunroof.
No, that's true.
What gives you the greatest joy in this line of work?
Greatest joy. I think the greatest joy I get is when, I see happy faces in my team. At the end of the day, we are all human beings. You have objectives to meet. You have targets to meet for the company. But a job well done and the smile of satisfaction that comes after that is the best joy.
What car do you drive to work daily?
I have a Tiguan right now.
Okay. And what are you most proud of while working at Volkswagen?
Most proud of? I think every day is a moment of pride. As I said, just seeing that joy in the faces of your team members is what makes me proud every day.
And finally, where do you see Volkswagen in the next 5 years in India?
I think, again, as I said, I can have ambitions, I can have dreams, but I have to stay practical as well and marry those ambitions and dreams with the practicality. I would say that our ambition would be to reach a market share of at least 3%. Yeah, so 3% would mean annual sales of close to 150 to 200,000 cars. That's what I think a good place for Volkswagen would be.
All right. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for taking time out to be on our podcast, and wish you and your team all the best. Looking forward to driving newer cars from the Volkswagen portfolio.
Amen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Boss Talk series on the Evo India podcast. If you have any questions for us, any questions for Volkswagen India, drop it in the comments and we will see you next week.